This video is a critique which is considered fair use under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. I do not own any of these clips. This is simply fan-made for entertainment purposes only. South Park is owned by Matt Stone and Trey Parker, Comedy Central, Paramount, and Warner Home Videos. Enjoy! Now before I reveal number 1, I just want to name a few honorable mentions. Britney's brand new look. Kinda like Stanley's Cup, I get the thought process. It's basically calling out people getting invested in other people's lives and calling them morons and sociopaths because they can't just let famous people be. Again, I find a big reason a lot of people hate this episode is because it goes a little too overboard with that. And instead, it just comes off as over-the-top mean-spirited. Yikes! This is an uncomfortable episode. This is about Mrs. Garrison becoming a lesbian and using her lesbianism to save the world in a way that's a parody to the movie 300. And it's just
hot scissoring.
Awkward. The jokes are horrendously overused and the parody runs out of steam very quickly. South Park is gay. I actually don't hate this episode. In fact, a lot of people don't hate it. It was even named as one of the South Park episodes that changed the world. The reason I put in honorable mentions is because, well, believe it or not, Matt and Trey didn't like this episode. They weren't too happy with how the third act came out, and they thought the crappy people idea was really stupid. To me, this is really interesting, because it shows that even though the audience may absolutely love an episode, the creators may hate it because they know they could have done more with it. And it's that thought process that, to me, helps make the show as good as it can get. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. Now let's get into the episode I consider the worst of South Park. Number 1. Mr. Garrison's fancy new vagina. Now I personally think Season 9 was the worst season of South Park. And when you look at this episode, which was the episode that started it all, it makes sense why Season 9 was, by comparison, the worst season. Matt and Trey said they went into the season without a goddamn idea what they were gonna do. In fact, the only ideas they had became Die Hippie Die and Mr. Garrison's fancy new vagina. And boy does that lack of ideas show with this episode. This episode is about Mr. Garrison becoming a woman, Kyle becoming a tall black basketball player, and Gerald becoming a dolphin. And that's really all I need to say. There's absolutely nothing that really goes on other than tons of filler and an ungodly amount of gross out humor. This episode just seems like that essay that you forgot about until 2 hours before class started, so you just quickly spend those 2 hours putting something together, hoping it'll look good to the teacher. And that'll fail miserably every time. I mean, there's so many unfunny jokes, and there are horribly argued shots at transgender people. Like saying that getting a sex change doesn't make you any more of a woman than getting surgery to become black makes you black, or to become a dolphin makes you a dolphin. That's like something I would read in my Quagmire's Dad Review comment section. It's not an argument I can see Matt and Trey coming up with. They're usually way more clever than that.
But I paid $5,000 to be a woman. This would mean I'm not really a woman. I'm just a guy with a mutilated penis.
Basically, yes.
And of course, there's the infamous sex change tape. Now, there are 3 one-second shots of a real, live sex change, which I won't show you for obvious reasons. But originally, because of the lack of ideas, there was going to be 5 full, uncut minutes of this. I mean, could you imagine? I can't. And that's not a shot at transgenders, because, I mean, let's be honest. No one, unless maybe you're studying for a medical exam or you have a very bizarre fetish, wants to see an uncensored bloody surgery going on with Mr. Garrison talking over it. And another reason to hate this episode, by the way, is this episode almost killed South Park. And what do I mean by that? Well, they were so low on ideas and so stressed out that Trey Parker actually stated he came very close to just up and quitting because of the stress he had trying to put this episode together. There's nothing I can say about it that hasn't been said. It's graphic, it's offensive, it's boring, it's got nothing going for it. It's really just a big black mark on a wonderful television series. But I will admit this episode has one hell of a backstory. So, I guess that's something. But still, South Park has made over 250 episodes, and I still couldn't find enough episodes to genuinely hate to fill a top 10 list. To me, that speaks volumes as to how good of a show South Park is, and I still love the hell out of that show. There will always be a few episodes that people don't enjoy, no matter how good or entertaining a show can be. So join me in my next top 5 list as I'll be counting down the top 5 worst pre-movie SpongeBob episodes.